Hey everyone, welcome to Sustainable Leadership Live. I'm so excited you've decided to join us today, whether you're watching live or on the replay. My name is Lisa Danforth. I am the host, and today I'm here with a fabulous Nikki Groom. Nikki, thank you so much for joining us today. I can't wait to hear what you have to share.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I cannot wait for our conversation. I know it's going to be a good one.
Well, it's definitely a topic that a lot of people are talking about. So I think we should definitely dive right in, share your brilliance with the audience. But before we sort of get into the questions and answers and whatnot, what I'd love to do is share a bit about who Nikki is and why she's here. So Nikki has been hailed as a force of nature and is on a mission to help new leading voices who want to leverage their expertise, their insights, and their ideas to drive meaningful change at a world-class level. She's the author of A Power of Your Own, How to Ignite Your Potential, Uncover Your Purpose, and Blaze Your Own Trail in Life and in Business. I absolutely love the combination. That's where the sustainability piece comes in, right? And today she's going to be sharing about how to become a trusted thought leader, not just out there, but just that trusted thought leader. So Nikki, thank you so much for joining.
Yes, again, it's my pleasure. I cannot wait to get stuck in. I feel like the keyword sustainable always makes my ears prick up with excitement. So I'm glad we're going to be digging in today.
Yeah. And I love, like you said, that the life and the business, we have to incorporate both, I think, to become a thought leader. We can't become a thought leader if we're exhausted, we're totally beat and whatnot. We've got Helen Gain joining us this morning. Thanks so much, Helen. Helen's calling in from Las Vegas. She is a caterer, so she understands that sustainability, not sustainability. So Helen, thanks for jumping on with us. So Nikki, let's jump right in. Like how do we become that trusted thought leader? Like when people are coming to you, where do you start with them?
Yeah, and I actually think you touched on it just now. It always starts with building capacity. And when I say that, I mean really looking at where you are right now and looking at what you need in order to grow, in order to get your message out to more people, and in order to have the time and the energy to really get out there in a bigger, bolder way. And so oftentimes we kind of want to jump ahead and create the new website or figure out the new messaging or start pitching those really big conferences or whatever it might be. And actually, I am a big fan of being much more intentional about our next steps and slowing down, certainly in the beginning stages, in order to speed up later. So that's one of the things that we do. And so that might mean for some people, maybe they don't have a regular stream of income and cash flow is sort of piling a lot of weight on their shoulders and not allowing them that mental spaciousness that they need to figure out their next steps. And so that will be one of the things that we work on together. If you are a business owner and you want to become known as a thought leader, let's kind of create some space for you so that you can go out there and you can begin to experiment with your messaging. You can begin to experiment with speaking to different audiences and seeing what feels like a fit without that extra burden on your shoulders.
I love what you said about slowing down. And I'd love to ask you this question. How many people, when you start working with them and we're going to slow down, we're going to take a pause, we're going to gain clarity. And they're like, what? Like, I don't want to slow down. I want to get into action. How do I get out there and do that? Do you get that sort of pushback? But then this relief when they're really gaining clarity because they can see the vision.
Yeah, I would say it's always more relief. Like, wait, I don't have to do all of these million things that I thought I had to do, especially when we're entrepreneurs. And of course, not all thought leaders are entrepreneurs, but I think that most entrepreneurs are very aware of that shiny object syndrome and just sort of being a victim of their own ideas and wanting to do kind of a gazillion different things and not knowing where to start. And oftentimes they pull me in when they're trying to figure out which idea should I start with or where should I go first. And so I think that there is a lot of relief in being told, actually, like, let's take a breath. And let's get you comfortable enough where you are now. Let's kind of get enough coming in the door. Let's, maybe you're feeling just frenetic and the cash flow isn't an issue, but time is an issue, or you're just feeling constantly depleted. I think burnout is real, especially when you're in the business of impact making and movement building. So just taking that time for you and figuring out what makes sense for you in the here and now so that you can turn that vision for change that you have into reality.
Yeah. And it ties back to that sustainability. We can't keep going. We can't get to that point of burnout and be the thought leader that we're meant to be and create the impact that we're here to make. I just want to give a shout out to the fabulous Laura Sorensen, who's joining us from
Hi,
Rhode Island
Laura.
today. Hello, hello. And then also to Justin, Shiny Object Syndrome, the struggle is real. Oh my gosh, it really is. And thank you for that lead in, Justin. That was what I was going to ask is, when someone comes to you and that is that shiny object syndrome, what do you do or what do you offer that helps them to slow down? Because I think we can admit not everything matters equally. How do we determine what the priorities are?
Yeah, and I think sort of that next step, so the capacity building absolutely comes first. And then as you're beginning to think, well, which idea should I really spend a lot of time on? Well, I like to talk about it in terms of deepening into the work that's calling you forward. And so what is that thread that kind of ties all of your work together, or all of your past experiences and things that you feel really passionately about? Who are those people that you most want to serve? And how can you begin to pull that all together into kind of one easy to communicate sentence so that people immediately know what it is that you stand for? And of course, there's a lot of work behind the scenes to get to that point. But I think really tuning into what's most important to you, and then what's most important to those people that you do want to serve, that you do want to support, that you do want to help, and finding that sweet spot in terms of how you communicate that, I think is a great place to go next.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be huge. I think we always want to start with this massive bang, but success is sequential. It's not simultaneous. So we need to start with that slow, consistent roll and gaining that clarity. I love, welcome, Sarah. Sarah was on the show that I was just on earlier, right before we jumped on. Shiny penny, shiny penny. No, so true, Sarah. Thank you. It really is. So what you're saying is to help them get clear on what is it that's driving them and how they can serve their audience, their people at the highest level possible. Is that what you're starting with?
Absolutely, because I think that oftentimes there's an imbalance, and maybe we're over focused on what's important to us, or over focused on helping others and kind of sacrificing ourselves in that process. And so finding that balance between what's most important to us, what we've learned through our lived experiences, what kind of new ideas we have, or insights that we have that we've kind of been building on the back of other people's ideas that we really want to bring out into the world in a bigger way. And at the same time, which people out there, who are your audience, who are the people who are really tugging on your heartstrings that you really feel called to help, and tying those two pieces together in a way that makes sense to other people, so they begin to understand what it is that you really do can help with, and can start to refer you to others as well.
Yeah. What you can, the people that you can help. And I think that's a big component. We're not here to serve everyone. Who is the really, I like value graphics over demographics or even psychographics. Who is it? What are the values that we all value together that you can serve at a really high level? But I want to just take a step back and just say, can you explain for those of us who may not have a super clear picture, like what is thought leadership, just to gain clarity on, is this something that I want to pursue? How do I pursue it? Just a definition would be great.
Yeah, I think it's basically you being you and showing up as you and bringing everything that, all of the value that you have to offer to the table, and saying, hey, this is what I stand for. This is what I value. Here are some ideas that I have on this topic that I've learned as a result of my past experiences, whether that's been working with clients or what have you, and putting it all together in a way that other people can understand. And so that might mean content marketing. It might mean short little snippets that you post on social media, or it might be blog posts that you write. It may be speeches that you deliver on stages or virtually. It might be podcast interviews that you do, LinkedIn Live interviews that you do. But just kind of consistently coming back to some ideas that you have around the work that you do that potentially could be of value to others, and delivering those in a way that makes sense. So again, it's about bringing everything that you have to the table, and at the same time having that ear to what is going to really resonate with the people that I most want to serve, and what is going to make them feel seen and heard and understood in terms of the challenges that they're having, and some of the ideas that I have potentially for helping with those ideas. So I think that sometimes we can think that a trusted thought leader, it's sort of this unobtainable status that we get crowned with at a certain point in our careers. And I absolutely do not think that's the case. You can choose to be a thought leader today. And the only shift is about how you show up and really kind of owning what you bring to the table, owning your ideas, owning your insights, owning your experiences, and understanding, because I know that imposter syndrome is real, understanding that that self-doubt, don't listen to it. Listen to, what you feel called to share, following that gut instinct and beginning to show up in more visible ways so that people, again, begin to learn what it is that you're all about.
That self-doubt piece is massive, I would have to say. And one of the things that I've learned in my 30 years as an entrepreneur and the just so many businesses that I've worked with is that you'll never silence it. That self-doubt, it will always be there. But the key is to not make choices from that place of lack, from that place of negativity. Can we dig a little bit deeper into that? Because I think you really, I would like to know, how do you move people out of, I know that I have brilliance, I know that I'm here to serve at an extremely high level, but it's our mindset that's getting in the way of us showing up authentically and consistently and with authority. Can you just share some tips or tools or how you might have moved someone through that process to get them to step into the limelight?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to say that that's exactly what I say as well. So I love that we're on completely the same page with regards to that, because that's something that I've been learning. I wrote my first book, A Power of Your Own, in 2020. And just writing the book was sort of a microcosm of all those experiences that we have with self-doubt. It was kind of like doubting myself every day and plugging forward anyway. And something that somebody said to me at the end of that book writing process was, wow, you wrote a book. That must have taken incredible self-discipline. And my first instinct was to kind of brush that off and, wow, no, I'm not self-disciplined. What do you mean? This was a really messy process for me. And what I've learned since then is that self-discipline is exactly what you said. It's understanding that self-doubt, unfortunately, it never completely goes away. You're never going to get to a point in your life, unless you're a narcissist, let's face it, you're never going to get to a point in your life when you're like, hey, I'm wonderful and I don't doubt myself today. That they're always going to creep in, and they're always going to creep in at those exact moments when we're doing the things that are most important to us. And so it's about really choosing faith over fear and understanding that the self-discipline piece is hearing that self-doubt, hearing that little voice, and persevering anyway. I think that so often when we commit to a project or an idea that really, again, means something to us, it's very easy to kind of get a certain way down the road and then doubt ourselves so much that we think, oh, I'm just going to move on to the next shiny object. I'm just going to move on to the next thing because I'm suddenly really doubting myself and I don't even know if this is the right place to go. And so one of the things that I would always recommend is that it's so helpful to have really supportive people in your corner who can champion what you're all about and who can reflect back to the possibilities and say, hey, that sounds amazing and you're doing so great, and kind of giving you that positive reinforcement that you need to continue. I do not think that we should be trying to be any kind of thought leaders in silo. We should not be doing this by ourselves. And I think that it can be so helpful to surround ourselves with those types of people. And if you don't have those types of people around you right now, then go in search of them. One of the first things that I did when I started my business 10 years ago now, I live in the tiny little state of Rhode Island, which I love living here, but it's small. And I thought, gosh, I'm not sure if there are any other business owners who are doing something similar to me with this real focus on online and worldwide. And I sought them out and I found them. And now I have this phenomenal network. And one of the most amazing things that happened as a result of some of those connections that I made was that I would have these conversations with people and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling challenged with. And almost without exception, they would also understand some of what that was. And so I think finding other people who also have similar challenges and who have maybe worked through it a little bit or have different strategies for getting around it can be great. And then those people can just hold us accountable as well. So whether it be, I want to write the first draft of my book, or I really want to give a TEDx talk, or, I want to write this 4-page article that's about a topic that is really, really important to me. Kind of following your gut and having those people in your corner so that you can persevere, so that you can continue.
And you can stumble and have someone there to sit with you and move you along. I love what you said a little earlier, which ties into what you were just saying, which is it can be a messy process, whether you're writing a book, putting yourself out there, and that we need to show that messiness in order to show our authenticity, in order to say, hey, it's okay. You know, we don't know what we're doing. It's like you can't put skis on at 30 years old and expect to be an expert at skiing. It's the same way in putting ourselves out there. And I just want to give a shout out to Laura Sorensen, who helped me with some of my messaging, which is, you know, helping people to bring their whole selves to work, not just bits and pieces. We have polarities that go on with us. We're successful and we experience failure. We're happy, but we also experience some sadness. So we are a beautiful mix of it, and we need to bring it and be authentic in order to truly be our, you know, that thought leader that we want to be. Helen Gaines said, gotta know your road and your journey. You're so, so, so true, Helen, definitely. And then Justin, networking in Rhode Island is great. I'm coming down there soon.
You
Justin,
should, yes, let's go for lunch. I'd love that.
I would love to.
I'll take you out.
So talk a little bit more, if you would, about, okay, so we've got the accountability, we're leaning into it, and we're getting things going. How do we create that sustainability, that consistency with showing up and being that person that we want to and need to be to serve?
Well, I think we've kind of touched on it a little bit in terms of the fact that there can almost be this impatience or this desire to jump ahead and be further ahead than where we are. And so I think one of the most difficult parts of this journey is understanding that none of us, this is a really hard truth to hear, but none of us have it all figured out. Even those people that you look up to and admire and you think, gosh, look, they're doing such amazing things. I would love their exact business, or I would love their exact following. I guarantee you, they do not have it all figured out. And so just accepting that your thought leadership journey truly is a journey, and there might not be a final destination. However, there might be certain milestones along the way. And I think, finding that balance between being patient with yourself, understanding that sometimes, the answers might unfold slowly, that there might be a period of experimentation, that you might have to try things and, yes, even perhaps fail at them in order to figure out the path that you should be on. There's a great Oprah clip that I always reference that Oprah talks about the fact that there are no wrong paths. There are none, because each wrong turn is basically pointing us in the right direction. And so just really trusting to that. And at the same time, not getting so in our heads, which sometimes is easier said than done, right? Again, when that support network can come in really real handy. But not getting in our own heads to the point that we start telling ourselves things like, I don't think I'm ready yet to pitch myself to that podcast, or I don't think I'm ready yet to submit myself to deliver a TEDx talk. Of course, there is sometimes some reality with that. You might not be prepared to do that. And so there might be some groundwork that's required, but making sure that you're not telling yourself things and then living into that belief, I think, is really, really, really important. I always talk about the fact that, again, I think this is very specific to entrepreneurs, but also anyone who really wants to have more of an impact, is that we always want to be 10 steps, if not 10 years ahead of where we are. And so just giving yourself some grace and understanding that you will get there, and giving yourself the best chance of success today that you possibly can. I had a great coaching session with a client yesterday, and we were talking about, what can you do for yourself now that future you will thank you for. Right. So in 10 years time, or even in 5 years time, what would they say? Gosh, I'm so glad you did that for me in 2022. And what are those things that you can start doing today and working on today, so that you can really set yourself up for success in the future?
I love everything that you're saying. You're making me think of Daniel Pink's new book, Regret, and how we actually do want regret, but because that means that we're growing. But one of the biggest things that people are they experience far more regret about what they did not do than what they did do, just exponentially. I just want to say, Laura, Nikki's right. Validation from your peers is so, so valuable. And it truly, truly is. Guess what? We are just about at time. Can you believe how fast 20 minutes went?
It went like that.
So I have one question for you at just to sort of wrap it up, which is, what habit or skill set have you implemented in your life that allows you to show up and be a sustainable thought leader?
Yeah, I think I don't know if I would call it a habit. I guess, yeah, you know what it is a habit because I have to practice. And that is just bringing more self-love into my everyday, which, sometimes outside appearances can be deceiving. I think sometimes, people have said to me, oh, you're doing so well, you're doing so great. But oftentimes there is a lot of self-doubt associated with that. And so doing what I need to do to be in tune with my needs and to be giving myself the best that I can so that I can achieve what I want, and understanding maybe when I need to slow down or take a break or meditate more or hit more yoga classes. But I think, allowing myself to be fully human at the heart of my work and not trying to accomplish things at the expense of myself and my well-being has been an ongoing practice. So that's definitely something that I talk about in my book as well. It's funny, when I first started writing the book, I wasn't exactly sure what it wanted to be. And ultimately it ended up being a real reflection of my entrepreneurial journey, which has been the biggest self-development journey. And that self-love piece has definitely been at the heart of it all.
Yeah, that self-love, the ability to bring in that self-care. And what I love is self-care isn't just about diet and exercise. It's about how we treat ourselves. Sarah says, taking care of your future is so important. Thank you, Sarah. I really love that. So, Nikki, where can people find you? Where can they reach out?
I keep it as simple as I possibly can. I'm a big fan of the question, what if it were easy? And so my website is nikkigroom.com. You can find me pretty much everywhere on social at Nikki Groom. And I have a podcast. It's called Movement Makers. Highly recommend listening in. I have some incredible people on my podcast. Lisa, I hope to have you on in the future so we can talk some more about this topic, and about some of the amazing things that I know you help people with as well. But yeah, those are probably the best places to go. And then my book is A Power of Your Own, and you can find it wherever you buy books. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your brilliance and really helping people lean into and understand what they need to do to become that trusted thought leader. So thank you. Thank you. Next week, May 4th, I have Elaine Williams. She's going to be talking about finding your flow and how to have more fun. Can anyone here think about anything that would be better than creating and inviting more fun into our life? Now that I think is true sustainability. So be sure to join in next Wednesday, 10 a.m. East Coast time, as I'll be interviewing Elaine Williams. Thank you again, Nikki. I greatly appreciate it. For all of you that showed up, whether you're watching live or on the replay, thank you so much. And we will see you next week. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.